In the middle of the night, I couldn't sleep due to the noise. As soon as I opened my eyes, my roommate stood nervously on the floor. "Did you hear that too?" She pointed. "There's something next door banging against the wall." Ding. Horror Story reminds you to click the subscribe button in the bottom right corner to read the complete novel. Just as she finished speaking, another loud bang came from next door, which was what had woken me up. My roommate was so scared that she retreated back to the side of her bed. And my heart skipped a beat as I stared in the direction of the sound in surprise. At that moment, the upper bunk's dorm leader cautiously poked her head out from behind the curtain. She glanced at us deeply, then lowered her voice. "Next door, room 312 has been banging against the wall by the bathroom for a while now, and the noise is getting louder." I hesitated and looked towards the bathroom. Is it possible that it's a prank? Maybe they're deliberately banging the wall to scare us. Wendy immediately refuted. "No, it's not a prank," she said in frustration. I was the first to hear it. At first, they weren't banging the wall, they were banging on the door. In the middle of the night, I groggily heard someone banging on our dormitory door, one hit after another. Wendy said she couldn't take it anymore and was just about to explode, asking who was banging on the door so late at night. Before I could say anything, someone next door pushed the door open. They were also disturbed by the noise. As soon as they opened the door, the commotion at our door stopped. Then I heard someone in room 312 scream, and with a bang they shut the door, and then the banging on the door changed. Wendy was trembling a bit. "He went to bang on the door of 312. I heard it clearly, bang bang bang, getting harder and harder, until the door of 312 was broken open, and then the noise stopped." "Stopped? What happened after the door was broken open? Did you hear anything?" I asked anxiously. Wendy shook her head. "No, after the door was broken open, the noise stopped. And there was no sound at all from room 312, until just now when it started banging against our wall again. No sound at all. How could that be? Did someone break in without any sounds of shock or struggle?" Wendy cried. "I regret it so much. When I heard no noise from next door, I was puzzled about why there was no sound. So I pressed my ear against the wall to listen to what was happening in 312. As soon as I leaned in, it was like he sensed it and banged hard against the wall. At first, he wasn't banging against the bathroom wall. It was after he banged a few times on the end of the bed that they slowly started banging on the bathroom side. The dorm leader said in fear, "He's testing which wall is the thinnest." Just after she said that, bang. A louder bang came from the bathroom side. This time I saw a crack in the tiles on the wall, and the wall surface bulged slightly with dust falling from the wall. I opened my phone, and in the dorm group chat, many people had heard the noise and were asking what was going on in room 312. No one from room 312 responded in the chat, and the dorm supervisor also didn't say anything. In contrast, the banging against the wall grew more frequent. I even heard wet footsteps retreating a little, then rushing over with a patter. Bang! It hit the wall. This time, the tiles on the bathroom wall fell to the ground, revealing a gray cement wall and the red bricks with efflorescence. The dorm leader was frantically shouting in the group chat for the supervisor. "He's coming over. The wall is going to collapse. Can someone come up and take a look? What's banging against the wall in room 312? The dorm leader had even recorded a short video, ready to send to the group. Wendy suddenly stopped her. Don't say anything in the group." I immediately asked her, "What? Did you notice something?" The dorm leader looked at me. "You haven't said anything in the group. Do you also notice something wrong?" I nodded. Just a moment ago, there were dozens of messages in the group. I noticed that while many people complained about room 312 being too noisy, there were a few dorms that hadn't said a word from beginning to end. The most suspicious were room 311 next door to room 312, room 412 above, and room 212 below. These three dorms, like us, were the closest to room 312. Room 312 had been banging against the wall, such an obvious noise, They couldn't possibly not hear it. Why were they not saying anything? The dorm leader's expression changed after hearing me. I looked at Wendy. You said you were the first to hear them banging on our door, right? Wendy said yes. I analyzed. Then the people next door also got disturbed and someone couldn't take it anymore and came out to scold. Wendy continued, yes, that banging thing was attracted by them and broke down their door. After that, I felt that thing had clearly gone in, but it was unusually quiet next door. So I wanted to listen to the noise from next door and pressed my ear against the wall. So that thing was attracted and started banging on our wall. The dorm leader also caught on. I reminded, then we can't talk in the group anymore. I assume that the more attention that thing gets, the more it will notice and target us. Wendy suddenly understood. I get what you mean. The dorm leader was confused. Then why did it start by banging on our door? With so many dorms, why did it choose us first? I shook my head. I don't know. Wendy added, I guess that banging thing has been wandering in the hallway. And we must have done something to attract its attention, which is why it started banging on our door. The dorm leader looked at Wendy with suspicion. Wendy was angry. What are you looking at? I didn't do anything. I was sleeping and got woken up. He was already banging on our door before I woke up. Bang. Tiles in the bathroom fell to the ground again, cement chunks and bricks scattered everywhere, dust flying up. In just 3 hits, the bathroom wall would be smashed open. The wall was already bulging badly. The dorm leader forced herself to stay calm and explained to Wendy. I'm not blaming you. Now that he has set his sights on us, it's important to find out what attracted him. I didn't have time to think about that right now, as I discovered something even stranger. In the bathroom, through the crack in the wall that had been smashed, light was seeping in from room 312. But what I couldn't understand was that it was already dark. And the light coming through was neither the bright light of a bulb nor the soft glow of a lamp, but rather a faint, swaying candlelight. I had lived in the countryside as a child, so I was very familiar with candlelight and would never mistake it. It was definitely candlelight. Who would light a candle? After falling into a moment of silence, the dorm leader suddenly asked Wendy, why didn't you let me speak in the group earlier? Yeah, why didn't Wendy let her speak when the dorm leader was asking for help in the group? Wendy didn't respond. Wendy. I looked at Wendy, who had a dazed expression. Wendy. I asked again. Wendy still didn't react, and I felt that something was wrong. I quickly ran to her side. Wendy's eyes were slightly closed, her phone clutched in her hand, her mouth open as if she wanted to say something. As soon as I touched her, she immediately fell backward to the ground, her pale eyes staring straight into my line of sight. She was dead. After the dorm leader let out a scream, she hurriedly covered her mouth. Wendy had just died like that without any warning, suddenly right in front of us. What are you doing? The dorm leader looked at me nervously. I glanced at her. Go close the bathroom door. The dorm leader hesitated. I can't. Then I'll go. I got up and walked to the bathroom. Footsteps sounded from next door, slowly moving away, then a loud bang as something hit the wall. This time the wall was smashed open with a gap of more than 20 centimeters. It was wide enough for a child to crawl through. I even saw, on the edge of the gap, a pair of muddy handprints pressed against it, the feeling of being watched becoming increasingly obvious. I took a deep breath and slammed the bathroom door shut. The feeling of being watched disappeared along with it. 2 more times. Wendy was killed, the dorm leader said in disbelief, covering her face. I returned to the body, reached out and took Wendy's phone. She was holding it tightly, and it took considerable effort to pry her fingers open before I could get it. The dorm leader watched as I used Wendy's fingerprint to unlock the phone and asked, "What are you trying to do?" I said, "Wendy didn't let you speak in the group for a reason. She must have known something. Now that she's dead, she had been looking at her phone before she died, so there must be something on it." The dorm leader snatched the phone away. "No, we can't look at her phone. What if something on her phone attracts that thing that's banging on the wall?" I replied coldly, either you hand me the phone or you wait to die too. The dorm leader looked at me in shock. I warned her. Wendy had no contact with anyone, yet she still died. Before she died, 3 things happened. First, the wall was hit hard. Second, the light from next door came in, and third, she glanced at her phone. In other words, one of these 3 things must have killed Wendy. The dorm leader looked terrified, turning her gaze toward the bathroom. The door was tightly shut, but we both knew that the thing next door was staring at us through the smashed opening. Don't you understand? That thing can kill us without even touching us. My patience was wearing thin. Even if we stay here, we will die. Do you understand? So what we need to do now is combine all the clues we have with the known information. That's the only way we might survive. I brutally told her a truth. Perhaps next time that thing bangs on the wall, one of us will be the next to die. The dorm leader trembled and asked, "Isn't it possible to call the police?" "What do you think?" I shot her a glance. "Didn't you notice that no one in the group is talking anymore? I told you that thing has a way to kill without contact. Could be the sound of banging on the door, the candlelight, or something Wendy saw on her phone. But one thing is certain, calling the police will only attract that thing and we will die faster." I must have looked very pale. The dorm leader shakily handed me the phone. "Sophia, I believe what you're saying is true. If you discover anything, you must tell me. I'm scared." I took Wendy's phone, which was frozen on the chat page. The dorm leader gasped, "Ah." I immediately followed her gaze. There lay Wendy, who had already passed away, somehow crawling over to the bathroom. More than half of her body was already inside, with her lower legs still outside. After looking at Wendy's phone, I finally understood why she didn't want the dorm leader to speak in the group chat. Because just now, room 312 next door, the very room where that thing was, had sent her a message. To be precise, it had sent her a voice message. The dorm leader was speechless, staring at me, seeking my opinion. I glanced at Wendy's direction, and in the brief moment I looked at the phone, Wendy crawled further into the bathroom, leaving only her ankles outside. I looked at the dorm leader and guessed, "Keep your eyes on Wendy's body, don't take your gaze away, or I don't know what will happen next." Wendy's body would move on its own if no one was watching. If she crawled into the bathroom, it would definitely speed up our deaths. The dorm leader didn't dare to move, fixated on Wendy, her tone urgent. "Quick, listen to what room 312 sent." I glared at her. "There's a 1 in 3 chance we'll die if we listen. Do you dare to listen?" The dorm leader fell silent. I explained, "The sound of hitting a wall, the candlelight, this voice message. These 3 things could kill us. Do you understand?" The dorm leader feared. "So what should we do now?" I took a deep breath, walked to the bathroom and grabbed Wendy's ankle. "Help me. Pull her out. That thing must have a reason for wanting Wendy to go into the bathroom. I had to stop it." The dorm leader hesitated for a moment, then quickly ran over, and together we pulled on Wendy's ankles, trying to drag her out. But Wendy, who had become frail, was now incredibly heavy. Our faces turned red from the effort, and we could only inch her out bit by bit. Just when we were about to pull Wendy out completely, suddenly there was a powerful force from the bathroom. As if something had grabbed Wendy and violently pulled her back in. The dorm leader and I stumbled, nearly being dragged in as well. The dorm leader gasped, looking at me in disbelief. "There's something in there." "I know." I interrupted her. "Hurry, pull her out." I gritted my teeth. Just after I said that, we heard a loud thud from inside, a much louder sound of hitting a wall. Bricks flew everywhere. The force from Wendy's side yanked again. This time my body was pulled into the bathroom as well. Immediately, a strong smell of decay hit me. The bathroom was filled with dripping corpse water, an unbearable stench. Just as I was about to gag, the dorm leader suddenly stood up behind me. Before I could turn around, she pushed me into the bathroom. "I'm sorry, Sophia, I don't want to die. It's better for 1 to die than 2. As I was about to fall into the cramped space, I saw the dorm leader turn around and quickly run to the door. then yanked it open and dashed outside. Thud. I fell into the foul-smelling corpse water, and Wendy stared blankly at me, her arm reaching forward. Over a dozen severely decayed corpses were piled in the corner, with dozens of hands grasping her arm. Suddenly, the bathroom door slammed shut, and the candlelight next door dimmed to a green hue, slowly seeping in. Just as I was about to get a better look at my surroundings, the pile of corpses in the corner moved. As it moved, then with a crash, the pile of corpses collapsed, burying Wendy's body. Suddenly, a hand grabbed my ankle. At that moment, the candlelight next door flickered and was extinguished. The surroundings were instantly pitch black, but I could hear rustling sounds all around me. I struggled to retreat, feeling around in the darkness, occasionally brushing against decayed fingers and heads, sticky hair hanging down from the ceiling. My phone. I found my phone and quickly turned on the flashlight. On the ground in front of me were a series of muddy footprints, leading straight from the doorway that had been broken open next door right to me. That thing had come in. But it was only lingering half a meter around me, the muddy footprints circling me. Why wasn't it killing me? What was it waiting for? Was I not meeting its conditions for killing? My phone buzzed incessantly. It was a video from the dorm leader. She was banging on the door like a madwoman outside. "Let me in. Sophia, open the door. There are so many people in the hallway. Please let me in." In the blurry background, countless people stood in the hallway, motionless, heads bowed. As the dorm leader cried and pounded on the door, desperate to get in. Slowly, the banging on the door outside grew weaker. But it seemed like there were even more people in the hallway now. I could even hear the sounds of people jostling, bumping into each other and shuffling. The dormitory door was forced open, and I didn't know how many people tumbled in from outside. Bang, bang, bang. The pale-faced figure outside was desperately pounding on the door, trying to get in. I could feel every hair on my body standing on end. The beam of light from my phone flashlight was shrinking as if being swallowed by darkness. I could still see a radius of 2 meters around me, but now it was compressed to less than half a meter in front of me. And eventually all I could see was my hand, dark and suffocating. I could sense something in front of me. Summoning my courage, I cautiously extended my phone forward. A terrifying scene unfolded. Suddenly, a rotting human face appeared in front of the phone. The face exhaled gently like blowing out a candle, and in an instant the flashlight burst into darkness. Cold sweat drenched my entire body. In this environment, I could only force myself to calm down, but the stench of death flooded my mind and I retched repeatedly. More pale faces were gathering outside the bathroom, and the pounding on the door grew louder. That thing next door. It was pacing around me, its footsteps intermittent. In the corners of the walls, stacked bodies tumbled to the ground, grabbing at my hands and feet, trying to pull me into the pile of corpses. Thud. A face pressed against the frosted glass. It was my dorm leader. Her eye sockets were hollow, her mouth wide open, jaw dislocated, making a clucking sound as she banged her head against the door. I couldn't help but gag. It felt like something was stuck in my throat, nearly blocking my airways. A whole hand reached out from my mouth, then gripped my neck. Just as I was about to be choked to death, an unbearable heat suddenly surged from behind me, burning like a ball of fire. I reached for the keychain at my waist. It had a small grass ring on it, which was now emitting sizzling white smoke. Suddenly, I had a thought and quickly yanked the keychain off, gripping the grass ring tightly and pressing it against the hand on my throat. The hand immediately emitted a sharper sizzling sound before dropping to the ground. I greedily gasped for air. The once dull yellow grass ring now had white edges, as if it were about to burn away. This grass ring was given to me by an elderly villager. For every child who went out, she would give a ring made of clover wrapped in incense ash for safety. No wonder that thing only lingered around me. The grass ring was protecting me from it. But time was running out. As the footsteps grew closer, the grass ring burned more quickly. At first, the footprints were only around me, but just moments ago that rotting face had come right in front of me. I estimated that the grass ring could only last less than 3 minutes. After 3 minutes, it would be consumed. A phone screen lit up on the ground. It was Wendy's phone. There was also a voice message from 312 in the phone. I glanced at the grass ring and the white ashes were falling steadily. As long as this grass ring wasn't burnt out, I was temporarily safe. Neither the sound of banging nor the flickering candlelight, nor that voice message from room 312 could kill me. Now I could finally listen to the content of the voice message. I looked at Wendy's phone glowing green. Just as I reached out to pick it up, suddenly, a hand shot out from the pile of corpses on the ground. Before I could react, that hand snatched the phone away. Oh no. I immediately grabbed the grass ring and approached the pile of corpses. The surrounding bodies twisted grotesquely. On the exposed bones, phosphorescence flickered, and they suddenly caught fire, engulfing the entire space in eerie green flames. Just as I thought. That thing banging on the door was intelligent. This voice message was the reason Wendy died. The message definitely contained some hidden information. Here lies a paradox. To uncover the hidden information, I had to listen to that voice message, but listening to it would mean death. And now, with the grass ring protecting me, the voice message couldn't kill me, so that thing didn't want me to hear it. If I didn't listen, I wouldn't know the information and the outcome would still be death. The footsteps reappeared, a series of muddy footprints glowing earthy yellow in the darkness. Each footprint lighting up one after another, but the sound grew more distant. It was retreating. It was about to charge. Thud. The grass ring in my hand ignited quickly, almost instantly burning down to less than 1/5 of its size. That thing with just one charge had consumed so much of the grass ring, it definitely wouldn't withstand a second ghostly crash. After this, the grass ring in my hand could last less than half a minute. I finally spotted Wendy's phone again, tightly gripped by a hand. As I moved closer with the grass ring, Wendy's head suddenly turned, staring directly at me. Her face was ashen and a stiff hand rested on mine, leaving a black handprint on my palm. But it was just a moment. The grass ring flickered with a spark and she screamed, quickly releasing her grip and disappearing from my sight. I snatched Wendy's phone and the pounding on the door outside grew frantic, while the footsteps in the bathroom became chaotic, radiating a sense of urgency. The frosted glass shattered completely and 7 or 8 heads poked in. My dorm leader's mouth opening and closing as she struggled to reach for me, trying to grab hold of me. I quickly opened the voice message sent to Wendy from room 312. There was no sound, the message was empty, devoid of any noise. How could this be? I was taken aback, it was impossible. I turned the volume up to the maximum. There was only one spark left in the grass ring. Suddenly, a rustling sound emerged from the voice message. It was familiar, I was sure I had heard it before. Crack. The grass ring in my hand was about to fall apart. The room instantly erupted into chaos. The bodies surged towards me. When I looked up, Wendy was standing in front of me, staring at me ominously, with the dorm leader beside me gripping my wrist. As the dark blue mist was about to envelop me, the grass ring exploded with a loud crack, emitting a blinding spark before it completely extinguished. In that moment, I broke free from Wendy and the dorm leader, quickly running towards the hole in the wall that had been smashed open. As I squeezed through the hole, many hands reached out from it, trying to pull me back. Inside room 312, the floor was covered in dripping blood. 6 classmates had their necks twisted in strange angles, standing at the door with their backs to me, swaying unsteadily. On the table, there was an oil lamp, covered in dark grease, with less than 1/3 of the oil remaining. A girl sat with her back to me in front of the lamp, motionless, her hands shielding a faint, flickering flame that was oddly green. I took a step towards her. She suddenly turned her head, glaring at me with a cold, warning look, telling me not to come closer. At the same moment, the corpse at the door turned its head towards me. The flame on the oil lamp suddenly flared up, burning away a large portion of the oil. The girl looked panicked, tightening her grip on the flame. She opened her mouth and spoke in a low voice, "Don't stay here, go somewhere else." I glanced back. Wendy was desperately trying to leap through the hole in the wall, but the ghosts were blocking her way. When I focused back on the oil lamp, the girl seemed to know what I was about to do. She cursed, "You dare." As soon as she finished speaking, I had already rushed to her side and sat down directly in front of her. Behind me, a loud crash sounded as dozens of corpses tumbled in. The original corpses in room 312 were almost instantly in front of me, pressing against my face. The girl had no choice but to increase the flame of the oil lamp. Thus, we were surrounded by ghosts, the faint oil lamp flickering, and those ghosts could only wander around us, unable to kill us. The girl glared at me with resentment. "You almost got me killed." I coldly asked, "You sent the message to Wendy, didn't you?" Her expression changed and she fell silent. "You have the oil lamp so you can survive temporarily, but the oil will eventually run out. So when that thing entered your dormitory, you immediately lit the oil lamp and recorded the footsteps of that thing, sending it to Wendy, trying to lure it to her side. The rustling sound in the voice message was the sound of you lighting the oil lamp, and besides that..." I took out Wendy's phone and handed it to her. "This has the footsteps of that thing, right?" I pretended to open the voice message and the girl grabbed my hand. "Are you crazy? It will draw it over here." Slap. I slapped her hard. "You killed Wendy." I remembered her name was Risa. I had seen her during the freshman registration. Because she was thin and had particularly pale skin, I had a deep impression of her. Risa covered her face, fear evident in her eyes, looking down. After a long pause, she finally spoke. "Yes, I deliberately sent the message to Wendy, but I wasn't targeting her. I was targeting you. I thought you could hold it off for a long time since you had that supernatural object." I frowned. She explained, "It's that grass ring." "What do you know?" Risa looked around, gesturing to me. "Don't you understand this situation?" Her tone was dark. "There are ghosts in this world." Risa looked up at me, trying to see panic, fear, or collapse on my face. But I just stared at her coldly, saying, "Continue." She was clearly shocked. "Okay, your mental fortitude is indeed strong, you're not scared. Maybe if we cooperate we can really survive." She repeated, "There are ghosts in this world. This isn't a novel or a ghost story. The thing that crashed into the door tonight is a ghost. I call it the door-crashing ghost. It's extremely dangerous, so much so that I didn't even realize it before everyone in the building was killed. In the end, only your dormitory and mine were left." I gradually understood, asking, "Because we have two supernatural objects, we can survive, right?" Risa nodded. "Yes, I have this oil lamp and you have that grass ring. Those are the supernatural objects. Objects tainted with the supernatural can resist or even harm ghosts to a certain extent, so the door-crashing ghost left us for last. It has intelligence." Exactly. Even though I had guessed this before, hearing it confirmed by Risa still made me anxious. Intelligence means he will hunt us like prey. He will patiently wait and also actively create opportunities, waiting for us to reveal our weaknesses and trick us into his trap. Risa pointed at the oil lamp. "Do you know why I'm shielding this oil lamp with my hand? Because he blew it out earlier." I knew this. I had seen the lamp next door go out before. Fortunately, I have more than one supernatural object on me, otherwise I would have already died when the lamp went out. Risa pointed to a small red paper figure on the ground. The figure's head was missing and its limbs were also incomplete, looking like it had suffered some bizarre attack. "On the day of the report, I actually noticed you because of that supernatural object on you. But you seem to really be unaware of the existence of ghosts. Yet I still found you interesting. How should I put it? Because the level of your supernatural object isn't very high, but its eerie aura is quite strong. This is rare and you must find it surprising, right? It's just a grass ring, yet it can block such a powerful door-smashing ghost." Risa looked at me. The number of corpses around us was increasing, and things occasionally poked their faces in front of me. I held back my fear, not daring to move, staying firmly within the range of the oil lamp. You can't get any information from me. I really don't know about the existence of ghosts. This grass ring was just something an old lady from the countryside made for me. She passed away 2 months ago. She pressed further. Did she give you anything else? I shook my head. This grass ring wasn't anything rare. Every young person leaving their hometown would receive one from that old lady for protection. Wait, protection. Could it be? Risa sighed regretfully. That old lady was definitely someone who knew about ghosts. The grass ring she made can restrain door-smashing ghosts, which shows she was extraordinary. It's a pity that if she had left you anything else, our chances of survival could have increased. After she finished speaking, her expression turned wary as she slowly dimmed the oil lamp on the table to conserve oil. The faces outside the candlelight drew closer as the light shrank, some already resting their heads on the table. Footsteps sounded. Risa's face turned pale with fear and I pointed behind her, to your left. Nervously, she slowly shifted her gaze, and a rotting face suddenly appeared on her left side. She must have experienced paranormal events before, as she didn't scream at this sight but calmly reached out to touch the handle of the oil lamp. As she extended her hand in the darkness, more than a dozen hands broke through the candlelight's range and grabbed her arm. Instantly, Risa's arm was covered in hands. But she still didn't panic. Instead, she carefully reached for the handle of the oil lamp and scraped off a small piece of dark oil paste with her nails. Under my puzzled gaze, she threw that piece of oil paste into the lamp. Sparks flew up and with a loud pop, the hands on Risa's arm and the rotting face on her left vanished. She took a deep breath and I noticed a deep purple bruise around her throat. I almost died. She was unnaturally calm. This oil paste is far inferior to lamp oil. It can only temporarily repel ghosts and won't last long. I asked the most critical question, what should we do now? Wait to die. She didn't hide the resentment in her eyes. Originally, this oil lamp could last until dawn. But now that you're here, the consumption of lamp oil has increased exponentially, and we will both be killed. The footsteps gradually retreated. Risa remained silent. That thing stood far away. Bang! The lamp oil inside the oil lamp seemed to boil and the flame shot up high. The impact caused the already dwindling lamp oil to visibly burn away. How could this happen? Risa stood up in panic. The oil lamp was about to go out. In an instant, more than a dozen hands reached out from the darkness and dragged her in. A scream erupted, and the remaining bit of lamp oil on the wick barely maintained a flicker of light, but it could no longer hold 2 people. Just when I thought Risa would die, she gasped for breath and returned to me, one hand struggling to support herself on the table. Her features had turned even paler and she looked thinner than before. On the ground there was another red paper figure, leaning awkwardly. However, this paper figure looked much simpler compared to the one I saw at the beginning. The bloodstains on it were still fresh and bright red. One of Risa's hands was also missing, and the severed end was bloody as if it had been ripped apart by something. She looked at me, seemingly having made a significant decision. I can only take the risk. If that ghost crashes in again, I will definitely die. Seeing that I didn't speak, she gritted her teeth. You will die too. You have to listen to me now. You say. I agreed. Risa took out a translucent small bottle from her pocket. Inside is the last bit of lamp oil, the purest corpse oil which can kill that ghost. I will lure that ghost over. The moment it appears, you must pour the lamp oil from this bottle on it to burn it to death. Do you understand? Risa handed the bottle over. I asked, how sure are you? Not sure at all, which is why I've never tried. He's very cunning, and unless you gamble your life, you won't be able to catch him. This is the only chance. She looked at me after finishing her words. I nodded vigorously. Just as I took the lamp oil, I saw Risa's lips curl into a chilling smile. She pushed me hard against the wall, where countless hands reached out to grab me tightly. Her mouth moved as she said, I'm sorry, I'll remember you. You hold them off while I take the oil lamp. Maybe there's a chance for me to escape." After saying that, she snatched the oil lamp from the table and turned to run outside. But as soon as she turned, she collided with a rotting face that dragged her into the darkness. Then came the most horrifying screams. "It's impossible. It can't be." Risa's voice grew weaker. I picked up the oil lamp from the ground and slowly walked in front of her. She lay on the floor, her limbs broken, her head tilted to one side, barely hanging on by a thin layer of skin, but she was still alive. "Indeed, your vitality is strong. Even a ghost can't kill you immediately," I said coldly. Risa looked at me with resentment but couldn't speak, her tongue had been ripped out. Surprised, I casually threw out a tattered paper doll. It was this doll that had taken my place in death just now. I hadn't guessed wrong. Her paper doll had the power to act as a substitute for death. I took it from her while she was being choked by the ghost. "There's no such thing as lamp oil here. You just wanted to use me to hold off that ghost. Because I have a strange item like the grass ring on me, I'm also tainted with the supernatural. So I might not be killed immediately, giving you enough time to escape." I stepped over her, scraped the oil paste off the handle and tossed it into the lamp. The lamp, which was about to go out, suddenly burst into flames, dispersing the surrounding pale faces. I placed my phone on Risa's body, looping the voice message. "Hope you really can't die." Footsteps were drawn to the voice, lingering around Risa, and muddy footprints appeared on the ground. I picked up the oil lamp, crossed over the muddy footprints and left the dormitory. From start to finish, there was only one way to survive. That was to let someone else draw the knocking ghost's attention while I found a way to escape. Risa was the most suitable because she can't die. She must have some secret that allows her to endure ghost attacks without dying, but it definitely can't last forever. Before she was completely killed by the ghost, I had to leave the dorm building. The corridor was filled with bodies leaning against the walls, swaying unsteadily. There were no living people left in the dormitory. I held the oil lamp. The oil inside had completely burned out, but every time it was about to go out, I tossed in the oil paste from the handle. The bursting flames could last for several seconds, and I used all my strength to run downstairs. The footsteps behind me sounded again. This also meant that Risa was dead. In the lobby on the first floor, people stood densely packed. Wendy and the dorm leader were mouthing my name. I simply tossed all the oil paste into the lamp, and the lamp erupted with unprecedented flames, throwing it directly at Wendy's feet. The flames exploded, filling the air with a burnt stench, causing the pale faces to retreat. As the footsteps behind me were about to close in, I smashed through the glass door on the first floor and ran outside. It was pitch black outside, thick black fog obscured the sky, with a blood moon hanging high above. On this day, the supernatural world officially descended.